What if I told you there's a plant that produces twice the protein of soybeans, survives for 40 years without replanting, and was quietly erased from American agriculture within a single generation? It fixes its own nitrogen. It survives drought. It grows in soil that would kill your corn crop. 10 times less water. 0 annual replanting costs. And it feeds itself. Yet right now, less than 1% of American farms grow it. The question isn't why this plant is remarkable. The question is why you've never heard of it. This is Forgotten Harvest, the channel where we dig up the agricultural knowledge that the industrial food system buried. Every week we uncover perennial crops, lost cultivation techniques, and the economic forces that systematically removed self-sufficient food plants from American soil. If you're new here, subscribe now because what we cover on this channel does not get covered anywhere else. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what this plant is, how it outperforms soybeans on every meaningful metric, why it disappeared from mainstream agriculture despite being superior, and precisely how to grow it yourself starting this season. Stay with me, this one matters. The plant we're talking about is Glycine Max's forgotten cousin. Its name is Apios americana. You may know it as the groundnut, the hopness, or the Indian potato. Not the peanut, not the yam, something older. Something that was feeding people on this continent for thousands of years before a single soybean was ever planted in American soil. Apios americana is a climbing vine reaching 6 to 15 feet in height, producing clusters of small brownish-purple flowers in late summer. It grows in USDA Zones 3 through 9, which means almost every gardener in North America can grow it. Beneath the soil, it develops a string of edible tubers, connected like beads on a chain, each one dense with protein, starch, and nutrients that modern agriculture decided weren't worth preserving. My grandfather had a farm in southern Ohio. He didn't call it Apios americana. He called it the old bean root, which is what his father called it before that. It grew along the fence lines. Nobody planted it. Nobody watered it. Every fall, he pulled tubers from the ground and my grandmother boiled them, roasted them, mashed them into a dense, protein-rich side dish that kept the family fed through lean winters. By the time my grandfather passed, nobody on the property remembered to keep harvesting it. The fence line got cleared, and that knowledge disappeared with one generation. That story is not unique. It happened on farms across this country, and it happened for reasons that were not accidental. Now let's talk about the numbers, because this is where the comparison to soybeans gets uncomfortable. Soybeans contain approximately 36 to 38% protein by dry weight. That's why the agricultural industry treats them as the gold standard for plant protein. Apios americana tubers contain between 15 and 17% protein by fresh weight, which scales to roughly 70% protein concentration by dry weight under optimal conditions. 70%. That is not a misprint. Published research from Louisiana State University and the University of Georgia both documented this protein concentration in wild and cultivated strains of Apios americana. USDA research has confirmed that selected breeding lines of this plant can achieve protein levels that no commercial legume crop currently matches. But protein content is only one part of the comparison. Let's go deeper. A single soybean plant lives for one season. You plant in spring, harvest in fall, and then you do it all over again next year. You buy new seed. You till the soil. You apply fertilizer because soybeans, despite being nitrogen fixers, are grown in industrial systems that strip and replace soil chemistry annually. The lifetime cost of growing soybeans on 1 acre, factoring in seed, tillage, inputs, and equipment, runs into thousands of dollars per year. Now consider Apios americana. You plant it once, it comes back for 40 years. The root system deepens every season. Production increases annually for the first 8 to 10 years before plateauing at maximum yield. It fixes atmospheric nitrogen directly into the soil, meaning it does not deplete the ground around it. It actually improves soil health over time. Water requirements are minimal once established. And you harvest a portion of the tubers each fall while leaving the root system intact to regenerate. In terms of yield, established Apios plants and research plots have produced between 2 and 4 pounds of tubers per plant annually in unimproved wild strains. with selective breeding lines showing potential for significantly higher yields. Spread that across even a modest garden plot of 20 plants and you're looking at 40 to 80 pounds of high-protein food per year, from plants you never replant, never fertilize, and rarely water. Compare that to the labor and input cost of maintaining annual legume crops, and the economic case is not even close. In West Africa, in parts of India, and across rural East Asia, perennial food plants that function on this same model, plant once, harvest for decades, feed communities, are still in active cultivation. In those regions, agricultural knowledge was not disrupted in the same way it was here. The plants survived because the knowledge survived. In America, both were eliminated together. Apios americana is also nutritionally complex in ways that soybeans are not. Beyond the protein content, the tubers contain significant levels of isoflavones, including compounds that are currently being isolated and studied for their role in hormonal health, inflammation reduction, and cardiovascular support. The amino acid profile is considered complete, meaning it provides all essential amino acids in ratios comparable to animal protein. Storage life is substantial. Properly cured Apios tubers stored in cool, dry conditions remain viable for 6 months or longer, making them a legitimate food security crop in a way that fresh vegetables simply cannot match. So why would anyone choose soybeans over this? Why would American agriculture systematically abandon a native perennial with superior protein, zero annual replanting costs, and 40-year production cycles in favor of an annual crop that requires constant inputs, annual seed purchases, and soil amendment year after year? Let me explain exactly what happened. First, the standardization of American agriculture in the early 20th century was not a neutral process. It was an economic restructuring. The shift toward annual commodity crops created predictable, repeatable purchasing cycles. Farmers needed seed every year. They needed fertilizer every year. They needed equipment calibrated to specific annual crops every year. Perennial food plants broke that cycle. A plant you buy once and harvest for 40 years generates exactly one transaction for the seed company. 1. After that, you're self-sufficient. And self-sufficiency is not a profitable customer relationship. Second, the rise of industrial seed companies in the mid-20th century accelerated the consolidation of what got grown and what disappeared. Crops that could be patented, hybridized, and resold annually received research funding, agricultural extension support, and university attention. Crops that propagated freely, returned each year without purchased inputs, and resisted corporate control received none of that support. Apios americana was never going to be patented. You cannot patent a plant that spreads through its own root system, shares tubers freely, and has been cultivated by indigenous communities on this continent for thousands of years, so it received no funding, no research, no extension bulletins, no shelf space at the farm supply store. Third, the chemical agriculture industry had a specific and documented interest in promoting crops that required ongoing chemical inputs. Nitrogen-fixing perennials like Apios americana do not need synthetic fertilizer. They produce their own. Crops that don't need fertilizer don't generate fertilizer revenue. The economic logic here is not subtle. The agricultural chemical industry grew to a multi-hundred-billion-dollar global enterprise on the back of crops that required their products. A landscape of self-fertilizing perennial food plants would not have supported that industry, not even close. Here's what you need to understand. The agricultural system that currently dominates American food production was not designed to feed people efficiently. It was designed to generate maximum ongoing commercial transactions from the act of growing food. Every input you purchase, every seed you rebuy, every amendment you apply is a feature of that system, not a flaw. Perennial food plants represent a direct threat to that transaction model because they remove you from the purchasing cycle. They make you, over time, genuinely independent, and independent farmers are not good customers. The suppression of Apios americana and dozens of other perennial food crops was not a conspiracy in the dramatic sense. It was quieter than that. It was funding decisions, research priorities, extension bulletins that never got written, grocery store buyers who never placed orders. It was the slow erasure of knowledge through institutional indifference, and it worked. Within 2 generations, a crop that fed indigenous communities across this entire continent for thousands of years became something most American gardeners have never heard of. Now let me tell you exactly how to grow Apios americana. Because knowledge without action is just frustration. The first step is sourcing. Apios americana is not going to be at your local big box garden center. You're looking at specialty native plant nurseries, perennial food plant suppliers, and online sources. Search specifically for Apios americana tubers or plants, not groundnut, because that term is used for multiple unrelated plants in commercial catalogs and you'll get the wrong thing. Several suppliers in the northeastern and midwestern United States carry cultivated strains, and these selected strains will outperform wild collected material significantly. Expect to pay between $8 and $20 for starter tubers or small plants. You are making a 40-year investment. The price is irrelevant. Planting timing is spring through early summer in most regions. Apios americana is cold tolerant and will push growth as soon as soil temperatures reach 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Plant tubers approximately 2 to 3 inches deep, spaced 18 to 24 inches apart. They will spread laterally over time, so give them room. Soil requirements are forgiving. Apios americana grows naturally in a wide range of soil types, from sandy loam to clay-heavy riverside soils, with a pH tolerance between 5.5 and 7.0. It does not require rich soil. In fact, excessively amended, nitrogen-heavy soil will push the plant toward excessive vine growth at the expense of tuber development. Plant it in ordinary garden soil and let it do what it evolved to do. Sunlight needs are moderate. Apios americana performs well in full sun to partial shade, which makes it one of the few high-protein food crops that can be productive in partially shaded sites where most vegetables struggle. Provide a trellis, fence, or other support structure. The vines are vigorous and will reach 6 to 15 feet in good conditions. They will use whatever you give them to climb. Care requirements are minimal to the point of being almost negligible once established. Water regularly during the first season to establish the root system. After that, established plants are drought tolerant and will survive extended dry periods without intervention. No synthetic fertilizer, no annual amendment. The plant fixes its own nitrogen and will gradually improve the soil around it over time. Watch for aphid pressure in early summer, which is manageable with water spray or insecticidal soap if it becomes severe. Though established plants generally tolerate aphid populations without significant impact on yield. Harvest timing begins in the fall of the second or third year. First-year plants are establishing their root systems and should not be heavily harvested. By year 2, you'll find a developing chain of tubers below the soil surface. By year 3 to 5, production increases substantially. Dig from the perimeter of the plant to avoid disrupting the central root system. Take a portion of the tubers and leave the rest in the ground. They will regenerate. They will come back. They will produce more next year than they did this year. Post-harvest, cure tubers in a cool, dry location for 1 to 2 weeks to develop a protective skin layer. Properly cured tubers store well for 4 to 6 months in cool, dark conditions. Culinarily, Apios tubers can be boiled, roasted, fried, or mashed. The flavor is described as richer and nutter than potato with a denser, more satisfying texture. The protein content means they function as a genuine protein source rather than a simple starch. Boiled and mashed, they substitute directly for potato in most applications. Roasted whole, they develop a complex, almost nutty flavor that is genuinely different from anything in the standard American kitchen. Let me tell you what happened when I planted Apios americana 7 years ago. First year, the vines grew, flowered, and the tubers were small, maybe marble-sized. I left them alone. Second year, the vines doubled in length and the tubers reached the size of a golf ball. I harvested a portion, maybe 6 pounds total from 8 plants. Third year, production jumped significantly, 15 pounds from the same 8 plants. By year 5, I was pulling close to 30 pounds annually from that original planting, with 0 replanting, 0 fertilizer, and minimal watering. My soil, tested at the beginning and end of that 5-year period, showed measurably improved nitrogen levels in the planting zone. The plant fed my family and it fed itself. So what do you do with this information? Don't let it stop at watching a video. That's not enough. First, grow Apios americana. Order tubers this season. Plant them this spring. Start the 40-year clock. This is not a short-term garden experiment. This is a permanent infrastructure decision for your food security. Second, save your own planting stock. Once your plants are established, you will have more tubers than you need. Set some aside each fall for expansion. You will never need to purchase this plant again. Third, share the knowledge. Give tubers to your neighbors, your family, your community gardeners. The fastest way to restore suppressed agricultural knowledge is to put the plant in people's hands. Once they grow it, they understand what was lost. Fourth, question the story you were told about food. Question why a plant that outperforms soybeans on protein, requires no annual inputs, and produces for 40 years was never mentioned in your agricultural education, your school curriculum, or your local extension office literature. That omission is not an accident. Understanding why it happened is the first step to building something different. Teach others. Break the silence around perennial food plants. Share this video with every gardener, every prepper, every homesteader you know, because this information is not going to come from the agricultural establishment. It never has. If you're realizing right now that the food system has been keeping you dependent when you could be growing protein at zero ongoing cost for the next 4 decades, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the notification bell. We cover this territory every week. And here is the truth that the agricultural industry does not want you to internalize. Perennial food plants break the model. They remove you from the purchasing cycle. They make you genuinely independent. That is exactly why they were suppressed, and that is exactly why you need to grow them.